Welcome back to the channel, everyone. We're on the large greenhouse, and today we're going to be showing how to build a solar aquaponics box, and we're going to be showing how to build the actual bell siphon and put everything together. So stay tuned for all of that. We're going to show the entire process. We got a 3-bin system we're going to fit on a 110 or 130 gallon tank back there. Before we get started, please hit that like, subscribe, notification bell if you drink water, because today's video is all about water. All jokes aside, we're going to head down to this side of the greenhouse. As you can see, all of my cucumbers and all of my ground squash and melons and stuff, they're doing very well once we got them lifted up. And once we got our mousetrap bucket set up, we probably got half a dozen mice out of here, and we haven't seen another one for about a week. So that is a great tool to get those mice out of here. Let's move on here. I have all of this equipment down here set up, and I've got everything ready to go, so we can just run through this entire setup. So we're down here with our aquaponics bin. This is where you're going to start. So we had actually cut ourselves a hole. This was like a 25-gallon bin or something like that, like a feed trough or a water trough. So we picked up a bunch of these from our local discount store. I picked up 3 or 4 of these and have been using them for aquaponics because they're like ABS plastic, very tough. So we cut our hole first. This is the first step. You want to cut like a 1.5 inch hole. This is all dependent on what size pieces you are using. So the next item we have to use is a bulkhead. So we have this bulkhead, and this is a 1.5 inch bulkhead, I believe 1.5. So this is what we compress on each side of our actual bin to be able to attach. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to set this up. So we're going to take the actual male piece and we're going to stick it through there. So then we take the washer and then we take the actual nut to lock it down, and we're just basically going to screw that down. And you want to get yourself a pair of channel locks or a big pair of vice grips or something, that way you can get a good grip on it. All right, so once you've got your actual bulkhead situated on each side, tightened down good, washers situated and everything, it is actually watertight. So they are threaded on each side, and you're going to find the actual male pieces to those thread in PVC. So I just had a whole bunch of scrap 1-inch PVC, and I took these little fittings. So I am able to just basically screw this right down in here. And this is going to be the dump that actually runs into your aquaponics wall. Now that I got that side on, we have the inside where our actual bell siphon is going to be created. So this is part of our bell siphon. This is actually going to be the siphon tube. So this is where your water is going to drain through. We're going to actually attach this and get it nice and situated. Once all of this is tight, we're going to be able to actually throw the bell on there, which is more PVC. So this is just a homemade bell siphon. I just basically took little nicks and I cut all of these to allow water to flow underneath while it still sits flat. So this just slips right over. So we took ourselves some 3-inch, I believe, PVC, just enough to slip right over the bulkhead, and we gave ourselves maybe 1 inch of airspace over this actual siphon tube. So now that we've actually got a working, functioning bell siphon built, hopefully everybody understood how I got to this point. It is actually pretty simple and straightforward once you start working on it. So the next piece is either usually a piece of PVC, and what I have been using is this actual drain tubing. So this is perforated drain tubing, and I was using this for a static aerated compost pile last fall, and it worked really well to blow some air and get some extra oxygen into the bottom of our compost. But what I did is take about 3 feet of these, and I gave myself plenty of room overhead, so you can fill all of your stone or rock or whatever medium water, whatever you're using in here will fill up, and it will not obstruct your actual bell siphon function, because all the water would be able to flow through these perforations and underneath, but this will stop all of your rocks and debris from actually clogging up your bell. So now that we've actually built this bell siphon and we've got a regular aquaponics bin and it's protected, it's got its actual screen here or filter to protect the actual bell siphon from getting clogged. I've got the pump that we're actually going to use for this. This is just a bilge siphon, like for your boat. There is a lot of inline pumps. There's tons of pumps you can use, AC, DC. We are using DC power, and we're just using solar power. I'm sweating out here. It is like almost 90 degrees out today, super abnormally hot. We're sitting about 85 in the greenhouse, so it's not as bad as it is outside in the sun. Under the shade cloth, we've got a decent cross breeze, so it's not too bad in here today. So this water pump is what we're going to use, and this flows about 350 gallons per minute, it says. So that's not nearly what we were flowing with our larger pumps. So our larger pumps that we used for our John Payne that I had just disconnected, so this was a 660 gallon per hour pump, and I really had to rein that in because it was putting too much water and we're overflowing our John Payne heating. So I downsized that, and I'm going to have to get all of this lined up and hooked up, and we're going to go through that whole process of getting the pump set up and running 3 individual lines to 3 different bins. So jumping up here, I grabbed the camera here. I've got all of these clay pebbles, and I basically have rinsed them all through. There's no water standing in there anymore. This is kind of like a perforated bag, so you're able to rinse those out because you want to get those rinsed up. You want to get those clean so you're not really polluting your water. You don't know what's on them, and when they're produced they have lots of dust, so you're going to make really cloudy, dirty looking water anyway. So we like to rinse our clay pebbles. So I'm going to get all of these situated. Oh, these are pretty darn heavy. So we're going to take these down. We're going to get these thrown in the bucket here real quick. So now that we've got the clay pebbles in our aquaponics bin here, they are nice and clean, ready to go. We've got enough for 1 bin here. We've got some recycled ones we've got to clean out so we can fill up our other bins. We don't want all that muck actually clogging up our bell siphons. If you got a lot of decaying material in there, like dead and dying cuttings or plants. So if you have a lot of unsuccessful cuttings, you want to pull those out of there so you don't have a lot of decaying matter clogging up your actual bell siphon and the flow of it. Although it takes quite a bit of muck to clog up a bell siphon, because once they get rolling, they got quite a bit of force. Next step is actually setting up a pump. We're going to get this pump hooked up. So I've got to get this pump split up 3 ways from the actual fitting, and today's trick was I'm only going to use stuff I had in my greenhouse. So I've got a few fittings over here. I've got the actual pump. I'm just going to set that right up here. So leaving the pump there, I've got some compression fittings, some T-fitting, a whole bunch of our tubing here. I've got a bunch of extra tubing from our methane collection. So I ended up having to cut a little bit of our copper tubing and stealing about, I don't know, 2.5 inches there. So that will be just fine. We're going to recycle that. So I'm going to be able to use everything that I have on hand. I didn't have to buy anything to actually set this up. So I'm going to kind of configure this and MacGyver it together. So here we are with our actual compression fitting. So you got your little compression fitting piece here, the slide, the little collar all the way up, and that is going to go right in. So I'm going to tighten that. I can't do it with just one hand, so we'll get that situated. So once the pump is hooked up to the line, you can see that I ran 3 lines. Now I had to use my little T's, and I was like, well, I have a bunch of T's and I have a bunch of lines, so I just kind of cut it up. So I got 1 dump in here, 1 dump in here, so these are dumping right down. And I got 1 dump here, so 1, 2, 3 bins. I got a simple little setup. Hook up the actual pump, and then I'm gonna bring everybody back once all this is situated, and we'll kick around. All right, so this is our power source. I've already got the negative hooked up. There goes the positive. Pump kicks on, starts flowing water in here. We're flowing water in here, and we're flowing water down on the last one here. Up there, so decent water flow there, and not as heavy here or here because this is a double split, but this, you can see, is filling up, and it won't take too long to actually fill up. So I'm gonna actually get all of this back together. So now that we've got all of that set up and MacGyvered together, I've got a nice little system running here. I like the amount of flow we're getting from all of these. Actually, even if this steady little trickle, that is enough water to fill this up a couple times a day and create a nice decent little ebb and flow and create a good environment for all of these plants. Here we are back at this little bed. I just wanted to get this kind of planted up and throw some things in and show everybody how quickly you can do this. And this is running for maybe 5 minutes or so. We got a good 1.5 inches of water in both of these bins, and this one has a little bit higher flow, so this one will flow a little bit faster, but we're going to have a really nice ebb and flow on all of these bins, and all of these strawberries are going to love this. I got this flowing right onto them, and it's just going to wash over the roots and reinvigorate them. I've actually got some rhubarb back there that I've been saving all these plants. I just got these situated this morning and I've had the intention of putting them in here. We had sold out all of our strawberries at the local farmers market because our local nursery didn't have any strawberries, so everybody came down to the market and bought ours. So we're just propagating hundreds of strawberries. We've got tons of runners. We're trying to get them all situated, so I figured this was the perfect opportunity to find a spot for all of those little runners I wanted to get in. You can see the water's filling up pretty good here. I may have to add a little bit more of our actual medium here, but we're pretty full. We should have really good success with this. This is a very good way to get all of these plants to grow for free. As everybody knows, using water to propagate plants and to grow plants is very, very productive, and it works much better than just going right into soil. So I like to have all of these systems running and running for free. So that is the next thing, is that we ran all of this off of our solar power. We've got 300 watts of solar power running into the greenhouse between all of our systems and fans and all of that good stuff. So I was able to just reroute this and run all of our water. So we've got about 110 gallons of water down below here in this actual large tub, and it's hard to see the tub itself. Big enough to hold all 3 of these bins on. So we're going to be able to get a lot of fresh plants coming in and out of this thing and be able to propagate a lot faster. And I may throw a nice little shade cloth over this section, or just put a piece of shade cloth or something up there to block even more than 30% sunlight, because those fresh cuttings, and when you're pulling fresh stuff up, it really doesn't like to have a real hot sun. It likes filtered sunlight 50% or so. So we're going to throw a little bit of shade up, and all of these should be set up and ready to rock. All we got to do is get our actual medium in all of these bins and we should be good to go. I really hope everybody found this helpful and useful, because I wanted to share all this and share getting this situated and how easy it was for me. I just literally took pieces we had laying around the greenhouse and threw it all together and got it situated to provide a nice little environment for all of these plants to root. So we've got all these bins set up. I got to go wash my medium up, and then I'm going to plant some more plants out in here and get a whole bunch more cuttings rooting up. So we are all set. We have been running this for maybe a cycle of 20 minutes or so, and we've gotten it to the point where it's actually starting to bilge the water out the bottom, and as this continues to fill up down here, it's actually going to overflow, and then the airspace inside of the cap allows the actual water to rise up in it. So the water's rising, and that air that's trapped inside is forced down and basically out where the bilge will come. So once that water comes up and surpasses the actual hole where all of the water is going to bilge out, it starts to form a vacuum and then sucks it all down. So that is how your belt siphon actually works. It's very interesting, and it is a free way to move water. So I'd like to thank everybody for watching this video, and thank you to all of my subscribers. I hope everybody found this interesting, and this was just another cool little experiment that I threw together with stuff we had sitting around the greenhouse.